Welcome to Purpose Driven Mom Show, episode 447. Today, it's 2 months into 2025, and I wanted to do a goal update, a life update, and talk to you about how I'm going to audit some of my goals that have gotten off track. I don't know about you, but 2020, I feel like every year, let's not even play, every single year, I feel like I'm like, what kind of dumpster fire are we getting? And I think this was my biggest lesson so far these past 2 months, is that reminder that things are just unpredictable. I've shared this before that I feel like sometimes I've been waiting for the perfect week, waiting for my kids to go to school. They had a 2-hour delay today. I live in Philly. No school Friday for the parade. When I'm recording this, it's right after the Super Bowl, right? I'm waiting. And instead of waiting for life to be perfect, I needed that reminder that I can make moves today. Now, you're probably like, Cara, that's what you talk about all the time. But sometimes I forget. I talk to my husband about it, and whenever I'm in a state of any sort, he'll say, well, what would you tell one of your moms? And I'm like, that's annoying advice, but true, right? And so when I'm starting to get flustered, overwhelmed, unsure of what to do, I like to pause and ask myself, if I was not me, like take myself out of the equation, how would I coach myself through? And that's the first piece of advice. And as I give you, I'm going to give a personal life update. I'm going to share my personal goals and things like that with you so far this year. But I'm going to give you some little nuggets that I want you to start to use in this episode to kind of adapt. And listen, show notes are at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 447, almost at 450 episodes, which is incredible. And you can check all the things out. So my first, little tip for you today is I want you, when you're starting to get catastrophic about your goals, nothing is working, I can't do anything, everything is a mess, what I would like you to do is take yourself out of the equation and ask yourself, how would I talk to a friend about this situation? How would I help someone who is struggling with this? What would I tell them? And I think that is really important because it allows you to take the drama out of it, and it allows you to say, okay, let's be neutral here and look at what's actually going on. So that's what I did when I did this kind of analysis. I've got some notes here as I kind of go through my goals. I'm actually going to pull up my Trello board to make sure I have them all here so I can give you a check-in. I'm going to start with a life update. And the reason I do this is because I think a lot of times it's very easy for us to say that nothing is working when we don't often pause and ask ourselves, what are the circumstances around that? And that is so key. We do a reflection in the Purpose Driven Mom Club every single month where we pause and we reflect and we think what's been going on for us, because it allows us to pause. It allows us to say, okay, this is why maybe this didn't go. Not like I'm a victim, not I can't get anything done, not, oh, well, the world is awful and I can't do things, in a way of saying, okay, this is the reality, so how can I adjust around it? So the first thing I'm going to recommend you do if you're doing your own goal audit is to do that. Reflect what went well. I have a 5-step process. It's 5 highlights, 4 struggles, 3 pieces of gratitude, 2 places you're proud of yourself, and 1 lesson you've learned. It's my reflection pyramid I teach in the book and I teach in my program. By doing this, you're going to allow yourself to pause. So this is what this first part of the episode is going to be, is me reflecting and kind of sharing what's been going on. So January started like probably for most families with illness, right? We had the stomach bug and the flu, and it was like back to back, somebody was getting sick. Okay. So that threw everything off. On top of it, in between all of that, it's Girl Scout cookie season, which I'm a Girl Scout leader, so it's like the busiest time. And it's also cheer comp season. So in January in particular, we had 3 weeks straight, back to back to back, where we were traveling for cheer. Somehow, miraculously though, I'll say, all the illnesses happened like in between that. Like my daughter got sick and was done like Thursday, and then we had to travel Saturday for cheer, and it just so happened to work out. Thank God for us in that way, that like it was hard, but we couldn't do it. So not only has it been busy in January and February, but everyone's been sick. So we've not had consistency because someone's been homesick and because of the unpredictable weather. And my husband and I talked about this because I used to be a teacher. He was a principal. And now with virtual learning days, I don't know about your district, but he was like, it's just so easy for the school to say, let's just do asynchronous day. It counts, right? It doesn't give them the day off and then they can be home and we don't have to worry about it. We had a 2-hour day delay, today. There's a lot of holidays in January. Monday's off. My kids' school in particular, they had off the day after the Super Bowl, like all those things. And so when I reflected, I was like, wow, there's been a lot of inconsistency. On top of all of that, the last week of January, I had surgery. So I had surgery on my sinuses. I have been struggling with my health for the past couple of years. Honestly, ever since I got COVID, I don't know if it's COVID symptoms or long COVID or whatever. I don't know what it is. My body's been through a lot of like trauma and immune issues, right? So I got COVID and then I was like in a car accident. So just when my immune system got better, I was in a car accident. Then after that, I got mono. Then after that, I hurt my arm. I sprained my trap. I don't know if you've been around, you remember the story. Like my health has taken hit after hit after hit. Because my immune system's been low, I get chronic sinus infections. Like I was on an antibiotic or a steroid in August, September, October, November, off for December, and then back in January. And it's been like that for 2 years. So finally, my doctor and I were like, let's do this surgery to help the drainage in my nose so that I don't get so sick. And then I had my deviated septum fixed. So and by the time I'm recording, you might be able to hear, I am still in recovery. So I am still congested and pretty stuffy. That was the last week of January, and I didn't realize, like, I knew I'd have recovery. My doctor said 1 to 2 weeks, she explained how it was going to feel, but I did not prepare myself for the pain. I also didn't prepare myself for like the headaches, because the types of headaches I got after the surgery for recovery were not the types of headaches I'm used to getting with my sinuses. So it's been super interesting. It's officially 2 weeks out tomorrow. So I'm at the point where my stitches are dissolving, so my nose is itchy. I still have headaches, but I'm like starting to move forward in my life. Okay. And I say this to say, like, I was so thrown off, and I'm going to share with you some strategies today of how I got myself back on track because of the struggles of all the things that happened. So not only was personally January hard, the world, if you live in the United States, I know we have international people here, but I'm sure you're privy to what's going on over here in America. It's exhausting. My husband sent me a TikTok the other day, and it said, I don't know if it's perimenopause or the fall of democracy that's stressing me out today. And I was like, that's how I feel. Like we joke about it because every day I'm like, it's my perimenopause. He's like, will you stop saying that? I'm like, it is. I'm definitely feeling like I'm probably entering perimenopause. So anyway, the world is exhausting. My anxiety is incredibly high thinking about where things are going with the state of this country. And so it also threw me off. I feel like I definitely had some days where I just like stared at a wall or like doom scrolled or just really struggled to move forward in a positive way. So that reflection is really helpful when it comes to my goals, because it allows me to be like, yeah, there's a lot you didn't do. There's a lot. And these are probably the reasons why. But here's the thing. There's also a lot I did do. And so if you don't keep a list of your wins, I highly recommend it. I'm looking through my list here. I have probably 50 small tasks. And again, these are small, right? Like schedule my therapy appointments. Let's see. Materials for my Girl Scout meeting. Finished a book. I read 3 books, I think. Make a sign up genius for something, right? These are all small things. I worked on my goals binder, etc. But I'm taking the win. So if you don't have a system for your wins versus your areas of growth, I recommend it. And then every single week you can go in and edit it. And then at the end of the month, you can look and say, hey, where am I at right now? So that helped me. While I didn't do everything I wanted to do, I did have some major wins, and I have had some major wins so far this year. And those were just small tasks I did in January. Now, I want to go through a couple of my goals. I'm going to give you some lessons I learned in the goals and which ones I'm kind of blessed in releasing for this last month of the quarter, because we are still in the first quarter of the year, if you can even believe that. I love a 12-week system because the 12-week system allows me to kind of pause and look at things with shorter urgency, but enough flexibility to stretch them out. So here's where I'm at for my quarter 1 goals, and here's an update and a lesson learned with each of them. Okay, so my first quarter 1 goal was around my family's nutrition. I was like, I know that we can all be healthier, and I want to make some steps towards this. I don't want to completely change everything and then nobody eats anything, but I want to make some steps. So that was one of my main quarter 1 goals is focusing on that. So what that looked like was I picked a focus for each month. So in January, the focus was every meal has a fruit and a veggie, or a veggie, right? That was January's focus, just to help my kids get the nutrients in, especially my son, who's a pickier eater. And February's goal is eliminating the food dyes, right? And so I wanted to make sure that nothing we bought and brought into the house had food dyes. Now we went to Disney on Ice last week. I let my daughter get an icy. She also got cotton candy. Bad move on my part because I was like, oh, that's way too much food dye. I could see it. She was like kicking my seat the entire time because I sat in front of her because she was with her friends. I was like, nope, I see it. So those were the two goals. I actually am not sure what I'm gonna do for March. I haven't determined it yet. It's part of my March planning. And that's been going great. And one of the tips I want to give here is I enrolled my family in that. We talked as a family, we picked some healthy options. We discussed why, like, why do companies add food dyes? What is the negative, like, effects of this? Does this impact your body? Why do we not want to do this? Now, what we learned was we shop at Aldi. Aldi does not use food dyes in their brands. So it actually has been very easy. It's 2 weeks into the month so far when I'm recording this. And we've had nothing. There's literally nothing in our house that has food dyes. And I was like, that's awesome. Now, again, we went out and I let my kid have the cotton candy. I let my kid have the icy. So it's not like, I'm giving her Valentine's Day candy, which, I already bought the Valentine's Day candy in January. If I had waited to February, I would have found a non-food dyed brand, but I didn't. And I already bought it. So I'm not going to waste it. So that's going great. Now, the other piece of this was I'm in my like low spend, low consumption homemade era right now. I'm just feeling like I want to become self-sufficient. That's part of my goal this year is I want to do as much as I can. I just want to equip myself with skills that I always told myself I can never have. I always said like I'm not good at cleaning, cooking, the homemaking skills, that's not for me. Well, one of the positives coming out of my surgery was that like I couldn't stare at the computer very long. It hurt my head and it still does. So I have to take more breaks. So instead of like watching TV, which also kind of hurt I did watch TV, Mob Wives. Y'all remember the show Mob Wives? Oof, I found it on Paramount. I was like, this is great, great recovery TV. But I baked and I cooked and I did things. So I want to tell you how I chose to add in my cleaning up family nutrition plan without feeling overwhelmed because I very, very much would like to have less processed foods in my home. Like that's a number one. But I always thought it was just so much, so overwhelming. I could never. I don't know how to make anything. I don't know how to cook. Like those were the limiting beliefs in my head. Maybe you've said the same, right? And so I made a plan for myself. So the plan for myself is not I'm going to overhaul everything to be the most nutritious thing in the world because not only that, my kids' palates are not set for super quote unquote healthy. Like if we think of like less sugar type of, if we're considering healthy, like less sugar, more whole foods. Like my kids' palates are more like set up for some Oreos, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, what can we do for this? So my plan was, and I have a chart that I made, that I'm going to take food and I want to transition it by the end of the year kind of over to column 3, right? So column 1 is what is the food? Like what is the thing that I buy from the grocery store? And it, included things like I would buy my son like Aldi's version of like Hostess cupcakes because he liked them in his lunch, or chocolate chip chewy Chips Ahoy, but Aldi version, cookies, like those things. So what are we buying from the store? Column 2 is what is a homemade version of it, maybe not quote healthy. Now it's healthier than column A. And column A is bought from the store, processed, the most processed, Column B is homemade. Again, still has the sugar and stuff like that. So it's not the quote healthiest in that terms, but it's better. So good, better, best. And then column C is a healthier version of homemade. So for example, chocolate chip cookies, I am not buying them anymore. I have a recipe. I learned how to do it. Cool. Done. I freeze them. I'll prep them. I'll stick them in the freezer. So when my kids want them, we can just make them. It's fab. Right now, I'm making them a very sugar-filled version of chocolate chip cookies, right? I think there's like a cup of brown sugar, a cup of regular sugar, chocolate chips. Like, it's not, quote, healthy. If you were to say, like, line up whole wheat something something cookies with mine, right? But it's better. And that's the thing that I want you to think about. Are you moving your goalpost like a little bit? Are you like moving towards that goalpost, not moving the goalpost? Are you moving towards the goalpost? It's better, right? This option is a little bit better. I'm getting there slowly. Now, my goal eventually is to take that recipe and either tweak it or try a quote healthier version with maybe a different type of flour and less sugar for them as well. But that's not where we're at right now. And I had to let that be enough, because if I didn't let that be enough, I would beat myself up over and over and over about not having healthy choices for my kids. So I want you to think about that. Instead of everything has to be healthy or whatever black and white statement about your goals you're saying, can you make a little bit of an objective that's like, can I move closer? So this is my moving closer. And I will share with you. Hold on, I'm going to pull up my list. I have amazing things that I'm making now. So I keep this list on my phone. So here's how I did it so it's not overwhelming. This is the other tip I'm going to give you. I made a list of the weeks in the year, right? And there's been, right now when I'm recording this, it's only 6 weeks into the year. So by the end of February, it'll be 8. I've already made 8 homemade items that I'm like, I don't want to ever buy again. And again, I say never, but like, I'm sure I will, but like very limited. Okay. So bread, I figured out bread. Now, not sourdough. I like am not ready to just white sandwich bread. I figured out the recipe. Like I found the right recipe. We're good. Bread. Ice cream. Friend, I make homemade ice cream now, and it's so easy, and chocolate syrup, and I've never been prouder. When I did my audit for the finances, I found that I was spending like $10 to $15 a week on like frozen treats for my kids at the grocery store. And I was like, why? That's ridiculous. So that was beautiful. Chick-fil-A sauce, I learned how to make that. Good for the nugs. Chocolate chip cookies, bagels, brownies, pickles, and pizza crust. So the pickles are still pickling. So the first recipe we tried wasn't great. My kids didn't like it, so we tried a different, less spicy version. They're still doing their thing in the fridge. So I'll report back on if I found the pickle recipe. But I was like, I feel so good providing my kids with this. Now, the other thing I had to get over, and that you might have to like, not get over, I mean, it's harsh, but I had to come to terms with, if you will, is the fact that well, would I love to have like 4 hours every day to put? I told my husband, I was like, listen, I don't even want to work anymore. Like, just let me make some bread and put on an apron, right? I volunteer. I want to be a professional volunteer. I was like, I would volunteer every day. Like, I have so many things I'd love to do. But like, I kind of didn't hate just making things. So I don't have all that time to make things because I'm working and I'm doing life. So I made up a different plan. And so instead of, oh, I'm going to make all these things, what I've got is this rotating list of things. On the side of my fridge is the weekly meal prep. Those are the things that we make in order to like have lunch and stuff for the week. So like I hard boil eggs for my son. He likes those in his lunch. I'll roast veggies for me to have. I will air fry some potatoes. We'll grill up some chicken. Make sure we have pancakes and waffles. Oh, waffles. I'm going to add waffles to my list. Waffles is my next. I do now make waffles from scratch. 9 things. Anywho, so I have my mains. That takes me about an hour. On Sundays, I take an hour to prep for the week, and that makes my week faster and easier, okay? I've got a good system, my kids can help, etc. Now, I also have my list of miscellaneous things, like the chocolate chip cookies or the brownies or whatever else is extra, the ice cream. I don't always make those on Sundays if I don't have time. And so what I'll do instead is I have a list of them. And my plan now that I've been working on the past couple weeks is that like after I drop my kids off at school, I'll come home and have breakfast, I'll do some journaling, and I'll just cook something. Like I'll just prep something to put in my freezer. So this morning my kids had a 2-hour delay, so we had time. So I was like, well, we have waffles in the freezer, but we only have like 2 left. So I'm just going to make a whole bunch. So I just made 2 weeks worth of waffles and they're in my freezer. So now I don't have to worry about it. Tomorrow I'll go to something next. We don't have any brownies. It'd be a nice snack. Okay, cool. We don't have pancakes made, whatever. So every day I'm just going to make something different, and I'll just go down my list of the things that I make homemade now. And if we have it and we have enough, I'm just going to go to the next thing. And then I'll just keep looping so that I'm filling my freezer with things so that it doesn't become, quote, another thing. So this is the lesson I want you to remember. Everything doesn't have to be another thing if you create a system. Every single thing is a system. So I've created this system that allows me to make homemade things without feeling overwhelmed. What systems are missing for you? I want you to audit a little bit. What systems are missing so that you can make things smooth? Now, my other goal for the quarter was I'm in this like low spend year. And I will say yesterday, I did not follow any of my rules. So I made some rules for myself. No PayPal. I have to like go get my card, look before buying, thrift or marketplace before buying, use up what I have before buying, and just sticking to my budget. I'm also not buying jewelry this year because I was like, I just want one thing I'm not buying. And I was like, I have so much jewelry I never wear. So I was like, no more jewelry. But sometimes I'll go on like Shein and like see something and be like, oh, I need this, but I'm not going to wear it. It's not my style, whatever. So I did great with this in January. I tracked all my spending. I started investing. That was another one. I got my Roth open. My goal is to max it out at $7,000 this year. Ladies, friends, anybody listening, Go max out your Roth. Do your best. And I'm gonna tell you, I was scared of investing. I didn't know do it. And I just started in January with $30 a day. And this is like embarrassing to admit, but I was like, all I have to work with right now, because money's tight, is $1 a day. Not $30 a day. I'm sorry, $30 a month, $1 a day. So I just did 30. And then in February, I did 60. And next month, I'm gonna double it to 120. And like my goal is to slowly double it to a place where I'm investing that money so that I can retire. Like, so anyway, open your Roth. That's what I was gonna say. I stayed on my budget. I did my low spend. I did my project pan where you kind of use all your things up. I have a whole box here. I'm going to do another. I'm not going to, maybe I'll do it for a separate YouTube video or where I go through and review. I think I'll either do that. And if we have the YouTube video up and done by the time this podcast airs at the end of the month, we'll link it in the show notes so you can come watch and I'll go through. I think I'll do it separately and I'll go through everything that I bought, whether I'd buy it again or everything I finished. I have a huge shoebox filled with stuff that I used in January, which felt really great. So my low spend is going great. My other thing that I was working on this month is summer planning. So I did that a little bit. I signed my kids up for camps. My daughter is going to 2 weeks of overnight Girl Scout camp. My son and my daughter are going to nature camp for 2 weeks. And then my daughter's done with camp. They'll do a VBS and then my son does 2 weeks of basketball camp. That's just not opened yet. So I did that, and then I kind of looked at vacations for the summer. Some of our trips are different. We're going away in May for one of our trips for Cheers, so we're counting that as one of our summer trips. We're going to go camping. So I kind of have dates on the calendar, and that feels good with me. I also been working on my health. So me and my friend Marissa, she's like my soul sister. We talk on Marco Polo every day. We keep each other accountable. I've been working on it. Now, it's been very challenging, and this is one where I want to beat myself up. Now, I wanted to lose 30 pounds this year. I've lost 4. At this moment, maybe 5. I feel okay about it. My goal was a pound a week. We made a bunch of other markers, though, around getting in enough fiber and enough water and enough exercise. So I actually feel really great. Now, this is also in between my surgery. So this is why the reflection matters. I was like, I haven't hit my goals, but I've had so much happen to throw me off. I'm proud of myself that I haven't quit yet. So I'm still working on that. I want to run a 5K this quarter. So I'm doing a Couch to 5K program. All those things are going well. What's not going well, I'm going to tell you, is my cleaning routines. I'm trying, friends. And I think I figured out what I have to do. I'm good at my dailies. I'm good at unloading my dishes, and I follow the Clean Mama plan. So I'm good at unloading my dishes, folding my laundry, cleaning up at night, making lunches, like doing a pickup, running my vacuum, my robot vacuum. Like the dailies, donezo. Beds made, we're good. It's the other stuff. It's the weeklies. And I realized what was happening was I just haven't found the right time of day. So I want you to audit the goals that aren't working and ask yourself, are you just not in the right time of day? I was like trying to squeeze in my cleaning from 3 to 6 during my home block, but my kids are home and it's just too busy for us. So I've actually made a change in my schedule. Starting next week, I'm going to start it because I realized this might be it. And on Mondays, I have a 9:30 call, but every other day, I don't start any calls until the earliest is 12. So I have some flexibility in my morning. Like I drop my kids off, I'm home by 9. So what I've decided to do is take that 9 to 10 o'clock thing where I was immediately like, I gotta go work, I gotta go do this stuff. The task will expand to the time I give it. So if I take an hour out of my work day to do personal things, which is what I'm going to talk about in a second, I will use the rest of that time better because I have less time. It's just how it's going to work. So, how I hope it's going to work. And the principles back that up. And so what I'm going to do is from 9 to 10 is my personal time. And that's where I'm going to run any errands, make the phone calls. And that's where I'm going to start adding my daily cleaning. I'm going to do it right away first thing or it will not happen. That is what I've learned. So cleaning's not going great, but I'm trying a new system. Other things that I want to work on is getting to church. If we're in town on Sundays, we're here. Now, I only went twice in January and once in February because we've traveled for Cheers so much. But if we're here, we're here. Family devotionals, which we do at dinner time, have been going great. I wanted to add money to my emergency savings. We've not been able to do that because of other financial things, but we just paid our last payment for private school for my oldest. He's a senior. He actually just got into Morehouse, so he's going to go there for college, but now we don't have to pay for private school. I'm so excited. So I think that'll be great. That'll be helpful. I did want to start working on Bible studies. I finished the one I was doing in 2024. I've not started a new one. So this is where I'm like, all right, I want to add this into that personal hour from 9 to 10. I'm going to try that for March. And my learning plan. So I have a membership, Joyful Home. Her name is Jamie Balmet. I love her stuff. And I've been doing one of her classes every single month. So that's been helpful on my home improvement stuff. I added in, I didn't share this one, a home improvement goal. And that is that I want to do one quarterly home project. I don't know how to do anything around my home. I literally don't. And I say that like I'm not even joking. Like, I mean, I could figure it out, but I just don't. I'm not handy. I've never had to be handy, but I want to learn how to change a tire and my windshield wipers and paint stuff. Like I'm, again, self-sufficient era this year, right? So I made a goal of my baseboards are going to get painted, and I took it through the dream, learn, plan, do process to learn because I don't know how to do it. So last week I was in the dream phase. I thought about it. Why do I want to do it? What is it going to look like? I then moved to the learn phase. So this week I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I think I know how the steps. I think I know what to do. Next week I'm going to plan out when I'm going to do everything, and the week after I'm going to start doing it. So my goal is to get them baseboards painted. So follow me on Instagram at a purpose driven mom if you want to see the behind the scenes as we start working on that project. Now, those were the goals I set for myself for the quarter. They're going okay. And I'm glad I did this audit with you because I started saying how hard everything was. And maybe you do the same. It's so hard. It's so challenging. I can't get anything done. Everything's throwing me off. But when I actually go through an audit, while yes, there are other goals, we didn't talk about every little nitty gritty thing that I'm behind on. Overall, I'm actually not doing terrible. And I needed that reminder as I went in because now I'm just trying to get back on track after surgery. Now, what I want you to do today is go to show notes at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 447. You can check that secondary YouTube video out where I'm going to go through all my products in my product pan for January. I'm a little behind on it. So you can see what I liked, what I didn't. And I want you to audit your goals. I want you to ask yourself what's not working, why it might not be working, what you might need to change, and you've got this. Check out show notes at a purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 447.